Alright, welcome to another episode of JYR Trades. Today is Monday, April the 13th, and I gotta tell you, what a day. Today was one of those days, guys, that separates guessing from understanding. The market gave us a clear instructional bias to the downside, and I saw it, but even with the correct read, I still took a loss. Now, before I go any further and continue about today, as always, I want to remind you that here at JYR Trades, everything that I post is for educational purposes. Nothing is financial advice, but I will say this. If you want to learn how to trade market structure, auction theory, equilibriums, liquidity, in other words, if you want to learn how to trade like the big institutions, then this is the channel for you to follow. Hit that subscribe button, hit like, share, and comments, and join me on my journey. Alright, with that said, let's go ahead and continue, guys. In today's breakdown, I'm going to walk you through several things. One is what the market was actually doing during New York AM and PM, why my short bias was valid, but the trade still failed, and the two critical mistakes that cost me a trade. The first one was entering before confirmation past the 25 level, the negative 25 level, and ignoring VWAP direction. That was the real clue I missed. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Ever since I started getting better at reading market structure and understanding the analysis before the market opens, one thing that I have been negating and not looking well at was VWAP. And VWAP was one of the first things that I first started looking at when I first started with market structure. And it cost me today not to look at it. Now, this is not about strategy anymore. I'm going to be honest with you. I no longer need strategies, okay? This is about execution, discipline, and refining my edge. At this point of my game, I'm not looking for a strategy anymore. I can read the market structure well enough, but it's about refining the execution, the edge, okay? If you're serious about trading, this is the type of lesson that you truly need to see. It truly is what I call a process. Alright, guys, so today, I really had the idea, okay, but I lost money, and honestly it was one of the most important days in my trading journey. With that said, let's go ahead and get started, guys. So this is market opening. This is about 7:29 a.m. before market opens. So the first thing I'm going to ask myself is, where is market compared to New York value? Are we in or are we outside of New York value? And the first thing that I notice is that we're outside of New York value, okay? I need you to understand that now. Here is New York value area low, New York value area high. So we are outside. Now the next thing I'm going to ask is, where are my mids? Well, right here I see Asia mid, and then, no, I'm sorry, we have Asia mid right here, and then we have London mid here, okay? Which they were really close to each other. That means our equilibrium was here. Alright? And then our POCs. Where are our POCs? Well, there was one down here, okay, and there was another one down here. So initially, when you look at the way this was getting set up, I'm like, wait a minute, we are below and outside of value, okay? Our mids are also below value. They're below the price, and it looks to me like we have our POCs down below. So what that was telling me, I felt, was that our trap, because our mids were on top of our POCs, I felt that the trap was going to be north, and then we were going to go south. And honestly, when I looked at VWAP here, I'm like, my first target is VWAP. That was my first intuition there. So let's take a look at what happened when market opened. And I need you to understand what mistake I made today. Alright, so initially, guys, so price opens up. We have some very slow tempo candles, okay? We don't have major wicks, maybe a little bit here. But one thing you'll notice is that we had a rejection here. on my Remitar Cloud. This is one of my programs right here, and we had a rejection here, and I thought to myself, okay, it is beginning to reject. Now, migration hadn't happened just yet. Okay, by the way, this is a post auction zero, the previous migration auction zero, and somewhere around 7:43 migration happens. And when I see it, I see that right off the bat we are rejecting off of it. And this is where I entered here, because again, the bias, I had built a good bias, everything was pointing south. The mids were above the POCs, telling me that there was going to be a trap, and then the move was to the downside. And so I got to tell you, I took the short, and I made the mistake, first of all, I'm not setting my stop loss right around here. Alright, if I've entered short here, my stop loss would have been here. Once price goes above this, if it decides to come back, it invalidates my trade. I made that mistake. I couldn't be around the computer, and I felt comfortable. And boy, was that a mistake. Why? Because at some point, as you can see, not shortly after I went in, price decides to come back in. Okay, comes back up through cloud with literally one big candle, and then the second one just simply rips through it. And from there, guys, the price just continued. Okay, you can see that it went through the highest POC here. Okay, our previous day mid here as well, and it just hung around there. Went through New York Valley area high, hung around there, and then it decides to move up beyond that Ville value over the previous New York value. And the price just continued throughout the day, as you can see, and the market went up. You know, we ended the day at 25,589, I think it was, somewhere around there. And so overall, it was a bullish day. Now, I gotta tell you, structurally, guys, everything was pointing down, and I mean everything was pointing down. When I look at the market, okay, and you look at again how everything was pointing down, yeah, I read the bias. It was everything was pointing down. However, you got to remember this, guys, that if you enter, if everything is telling you that it's pointing down, and you enter before true confirmation, is you're running a risk. And that's what happened to me. I entered without true confirmation, and this is a true confirmation that I was waiting for. Okay, that I should have waited for, because in the past, I always wait after 25. In this case, the negative 25 for a short bias. And I gotta tell you, if I had waited for a candle to go past the negative 25, close and hold below the negative 25, I would have avoided this. If I would have waited for that right there, I would have been like, okay, it would have never gotten there, and I would have seen that it would have continued up here. And at some point, I'm like, okay, it didn't close above the 25 here, came back down here, but once it started coming back up here, I would have said, okay, this is the real move of the day, and I would have entered here, and I would have continued. Okay, now I'm gonna be honest with you. At some point, I'm looking at this throughout the day, and I'm like, there's something I had to have missed. There's no way the market didn't give me some type of clue. And I'm looking at this. And I'm like, what was it? So I zoom out. And it was right there in front of me. Okay? Literally, it was right there in front of me. I want you to take a look at this. Okay? When market's coming down here, guys, what do you notice about VWAP here? VWAP is not going down. VWAP is going up. So that right there, notice how VWAP here was steadily climbing along with price, and then price decides to give us this move here. I was gonna say some other word. This move that it starts coming down, price. And what do you see about VWAP? It's not steadily going up, it's climbing up. That was the big clue right there that this was not real. That this was not real. That I had to be careful. And I gotta admit, it didn't bother me. Well, yeah, it did bother me a little bit to have the loss today because it was a big chunk. But there are lessons that teach you, because in the longer run, this is what you want to avoid. So today, two very important keys, guys. Two very important things. I did not wait to enter true confirmation after the 25, and then VWAP was right there. It was literally right there telling me, I'm going up. Why do you think you should be going down? So remember, market structure. Your idea can still be valid, but you have to wait for confirmation. And if it doesn't confirm past the 25, and if VWAP is telling you going in the opposite direction, that's a big red flag. Okay, so guys, so the market in the end, guys, today, not only did it just reject my trade, okay, it completely flipped the direction. Okay, that's the reality of it. Okay, and like I said, guys, at this point here, I'm not looking for strategy anymore. I'm not looking for the aha moment or the it factor. I already know strategy well enough. Okay, what I need to do is refine my execution. And you know what? These were two big things that I missed today. Right? If I had waited alone for the 25, I would have been probably safe. Now I know about my VWAP. Okay, now this is my VWAP line, this pinkish line. These two other lines that I have, they're part of my Remitar series programs that I've been working on, and you can see when I take it off. Now the reason I did it like that is because it's gonna help me stand out more. Okay, and so it should help me in the future, right, to avoid the issue of forgetting it. Okay. Alright, so again, guys, a good idea without confirmation is still a bad trade. Everything before pre-market open was telling me everything was good to go to the downside. I mean, everything was good to the downside. But first of all, there was no confirmation past the negative 25. I entered literally here. I think this is where I entered, or right here. It was on this candle here. I saw the rejection off of Remitar post migration 0, and I thought we're good. It's behind the cloud. Oh, it's in front of the cloud, so we're leaving the danger zone, because this is the danger zone right here. All right, this is the no man's trade land right here. And so I'm like, it's getting away, and literally I was getting profit at this point here. At one point I saw, I think it was like $600, and I had my first take profit of the day. I had it right here, and I was like, I felt confident. I'm like, it's gonna go. And you know, I made the first real mistake I made was not configuring my risk. In other words, putting my stop loss. And my stop loss at this point here, guys, should have been right here, and I didn't put it. And boy, it cost me. And so those are the things that I'm going to be looking for, guys. That from going forward, guys, they're going to be non-negotiables. Okay, I gotta wait for the 25 break. I have to look at VWAP alignment. It showed me today that VWAP is still boss out here, and the stop loss. Okay. Today, guys, wasn't a setback in my opinion. This was a level up. Okay. And if you're serious about trading like me, in other words, that you're on this journey that you're just starting. I mean, I still consider myself very young, very new to this here, but I'm trying to learn it the right way. I'm not trying to cut shortcuts. I'm not trying to get indicators to show me. I'm actually trying to learn the language of the market. Okay, and if you're serious about it, you're gonna make mistakes, and when you make a mistake, you gotta figure out what exactly went wrong. And today, even after I saw that my trade had been invalidated, I kept thinking there's something that has to show me what I missed. And it, once again, the final piece of the puzzle today was VWAP. This right here, when this was going down, this should have told me, nope, you have the wrong idea, get out of it. It was going up. If this was going down, guys, woo, then we're in the right. But we weren't. Okay. All right, guys. So as always, if you learned something today, okay, even with a loss, remember, guys, traders, the best traders in the world, they're not going to be defined and they're not going to be forged with the biggest wins. Okay, they're going to come from days like today, where you're going to have a loss, and it's going to teach you something big, something huge, and you have to look for it, and you have to learn to apply it the next time so it doesn't happen to you. This is truly a game of discipline, and I'm hoping that I will follow my discipline going forward as well with these new non-negotiables. Again, confirmation past the 25, have my stop loss, my risk defined, and VWAP. Okay, you know, my post migration, my Remitar, they're great. Okay, but I learned today I learned that, again, these other three are super non-negotiable. All right, guys, with that said, if you learned something, if you enjoyed this, please, if you want to follow this journey and you want to continue to learn a couple of things. One, hit that subscribe button. It's going to mean the world to me. Okay, I'm not doing this for the views or anything like that, but it's good to know that along the way there are other people just like myself that are trying to learn, that hopefully a little bit that I give you here helps you along your journey. Okay, with that said, guys, everything that I teach here, again, is for educational purposes. Nothing is financial advice. But as always, guys, you know, remember to look at that pinned comment. The pinned comment is going to have the journal of the day. It's going to have the pre-New York structure, and then it's going to have the lesson of the day as well, so that you can help connect. Okay, and I'm going to tell you on that pinned comment, I'm going to have that VWAP moment because it was huge today. All right, with that said, we'll see you till next time.